In Overwatch 2, there are several heroes that seem pretty easy to play at face value. It seems obvious what you should be doing, except it's wrong. And there's a lot of characters that you are playing incorrectly. So we're gonna break down the top 7 heroes that you're playing wrong and give you targeted tips on how to dominate with them, because these characters are insane when mastered. But before we break it all down, welcome our sponsor to this video, Ridge Wallet. They sent me a Ridge Wallet and key case to try out, and I was blown away by the freaking quality. Ridge has tons of colors and styles, including carbon fiber, burnt titanium, or even gold plated. This carbon fiber key case they sent me was actually really freaking cool. Not only was it very durable and heavy duty, but it allowed you to whip out your keys at a moment's notice. Now, there's never been a better time to get in on Ridge, because you could save up to 40% using my unique link down below. That's right, get the best offer with link ridge.com/mills right now in the description down below. Now, jumping right into the first hero on this list is Echo. And a lot of people really underestimate Echo and don't know how to play her correctly. Echo can put out a ton of damage, with her primary fire just doing a ridiculous amount of damage, and if you get crits, you're just bursting down people. And in addition to that, she has the ability to punish either tanks that are too aggressive, the ability to burst them down if they're less than half health, or even go for plays where she bursts down squishies and just deletes them after she gets them low with her primary fire or her sticky grenades. Now, the big mistake that people are making on Echo is that they're often just using her like a dive character. They grab an Echo, they fly at a target, throw their mines at them, try to beam them, and if it doesn't work, they die. And Echo is a character that you often want to incorporate a strategy of poke and pressure, and then you utilize your movement to get out of an aggressive angle. So in a very similar way that Genji would, when he would push up to an aggressive angle and start poking and poking and poking, and then dash away, Echo wants to do something similar, and she's going to be able to do a lot more damage because she's poking from that angle, and then she can't be punished. So just like with a Sojourn sliding away, or a Genji dashing away, or a Reaper fading away, she's taking that aggressive angle so that she could be more effective. Oftentimes players just want to dive in and just like start beaming down people, but realistically, Echo thrives in a poke environment because her neutral game is incredibly powerful. She outputs a ton of damage, and she can punish enemies for getting too aggressive. And that's not to say that she can't go for these beam plays, but oftentimes if you full commit to a play where you're using your fly and your beam and your mines and you're in the back line, that's an all or nothing play, where if it goes right, you kill someone, but even then you probably will get traded, and if it goes wrong, you do nothing and die, when instead you could just force enemies to clear you over and over, building up ultimate, getting tons and tons of chip damage, and also punishing enemies for getting too aggressive. Now moving on to the next hero that you play wrong, and this one is Lucio. And I've actually done quite a few VOD reviews of Lucio's recently in the plat rank, in the gold rank, even in the bronze rank, and Lucio's all over the place are making this one huge mistake, and it's really overemphasizing the healing aspect of Lucio. And you might be saying, what the heck? Aren't I supposed to heal? Everyone flames me when I don't heal. Well, the thing is, Lucio, his true utility comes from his speed, right? And the reason that is it allows you to close a fight quicker, retreat from a fight faster, get out of open space quicker. It basically makes you and your team more lethal, more survivable, and you just get to execute all your strategies at a much quicker pace. This means that the vast majority of the time, you need to be on speed. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be amping up heals if you have a critical target that is under threat, but the vast majority of the time, you are trying to enable your team utilizing speed. And this is really important, like if you have a Reaper that's trying to go in for an ultimate, or you pop your beat and you want your team to engage, or your team gets a pick off and you want to press that advantage. All those things should not be combined with some sort of healing that is trying to slow down the fight, delay the fight. You're trying to take that advantage and snowball it, and speed is one of the best ways to do that. So not only should you be trying to save your amp for those optimal moments, if at all possible, but try to never waste a full amp for sure, but as many amps as you can get away with, don't waste those on heals. Use them for speed instead, and then keep the heal amps and just healing in general for when it's absolutely necessary for your team. Now moving on to the next character that we got for you on this list, and this is Reinhardt. And Reinhardt's a character that a ton of people play really wrong, because they do like one of a couple things. They charge in like straight into the enemy team, way in front of their team, and they're just like, all right, I play well up close. Let's get up close. And they typically get hit with a CC and killed and murdered. I'm sure you've seen those Reinhardts. You might have even been those Reinhardts, okay? The other way that Reins play is they hold their shield and they stand with their team. They stand back, you know, really, really far back on one side of the point with their shield, and they have a hit scan behind it, so they're just going to stand there. And they're like, hey, I have a shield. Shoot the enemy. That's not realistic for what a Rein should do. A Rein wants to be close. He wants to fight from a close, effective range. He wants to swing his hammer. He wants to deal damage with his hammer, and he wants to put pressure with his damage. This means that a Rein wants to get in close. He does want to get in close. He doesn't want to just shield off his team. While your shield definitely creates space and helps to prevent damage from coming through, it is not your job to be this permaform of shielding for your team to shoot through constantly. And you're not a sniper. You don't play back like a Sigma. You're taking close, aggressive angles and not allowing the enemy to just push up on your team. And another thing that you need to be doing is balancing that shield and base health. You never want to be in a situation where your shield breaks. You want to combine a number of different swings with your utility, with your shielding, and make it so that when you are on the front line, when you do get close to that enemy in your optimal range and you're swinging on the enemy, but you're vulnerable, right? You're vulnerable to all this CC, all this utility, whether it's nade, whether it's hook, whether it's sleep, whether it's rock. You have shield to protect you, to protect your team, to enable your pressure and your swings and your aggression. So they kind of go hand in hand. But if you just like get all the way to the front line and your shield's broken, sure, you're in your optimal range, but you got nothing for all of this stuff that's going to be dumped on you, and you're still going to die. You're still going to lose. So it's about balancing that, getting into your optimal range while still having your resources to spare. Now, the next thing that we need to talk about is Genji. We mentioned him earlier, but Genji is a character that a ton of people still get wrong. They just play Genji like he's a one-man army. They fly in, hope to one-tap a target, and yeah, they just die. They just feed and die. And here's the first big thing that Genji players mess up on. They utilize their reflect in the dream scenario. An example of this is like going right in front of an Ana and reflecting, because she's obviously gonna sleep and nade herself. You're gonna dash through her, kill her whole team, right? That's the dream scenario. But the reality is you can't control how disciplined an opponent's gonna be. Like, the more pressure you put onto them, the more likely they will mess up into your reflect. That is true, but even then, it's only a possibility. Enemies could have absolute discipline. Enemies could have to reload or stop shooting for any reason at all. And if you're expecting reflect to give you guaranteed damage, it's not going to give you guaranteed damage. But I tell you what it will do. It will give you guaranteed value in the form of protection, or at least kind of guaranteed. I mean, not all forms of protection, because you could still get beamed, but for the vast majority of damage in the game, it will protect you. And why does that matter? Why should you play towards that guaranteed rather than the potential or possible high risk, high reward reflect a whole bunch of damage? Well, look at reflect as a way to enable your engages and enable your plays. When you're going in for a Zen kill or you're going in for an Ana kill, having that reflect is not just a means to potentially kill them. It's also a means to allow you to escape if things go wrong. And if you're not dead, you're alive to still gain ultimate. All you have to do is wait out your cooldowns, and then you can go in for another engage. So being more survivable makes you that immortal Genji that allows you to go for these plays, fish for them, and then reflect bails you out. And you can just do that over and over and over again, rather than reflecting pre-fight and hoping that something crazy is going to happen. It doesn't. You dash in, you have no reflect, and you die. Or you dash at someone, you do some damage, you reflect hoping that they're going to actually shoot themselves, and they don't. And then you die because you have no out and you have no reflect to get you out. You use your reflect as a way to try to make a play, but it's far too unreliable, not consistent, and you're dead. So yeah. Now moving on to the next hero that you are playing super wrong. And it's none other than Kiriko. Kiriko's a character that is so powerful right now in the meta, but a lot of players are playing her wrong. They're either all heal botting, heal botting all the time, not doing any damage, playing with their team, or they're fragging out all the time and they're not healing at all. And here's the thing. While I do think the vast majority of Kirikos have the mistake where they actually don't make enough plays. They are not on an off angle. They're not poking enough, doing enough damage, baiting out enough cooldowns. There are also Kirikos that go a little bit too far, where they don't know that there are times where you need to heal, and there's times when you need to make value in other ways, and it's important for you to distinguish them. If you are in a safe pre-fight situation and you have someone that's low or someone that absolutely needs healing to actually contribute to the fight, it's probably worthwhile for you to heal them. But in another situation, if you are on an off angle as a Kiriko, playing really far away from your team so you can go to your team for safety, getting tons of value, potentially getting picks, then it's okay for you not to just teleport you to your team and top up your tank from 80% to 100%, because you can do so much more from the angle you're at, and it's ultimately up to you to decide how do you balance the two. I will say that Kiriko naturally gets a huge amount of advantage from playing away from her team, mainly due to two reasons. One, she can't get punished, and she has to teleport back to her team. If she's playing with her team, she can't teleport to her team. It's the same spot, right? And two, she can apply a ton of pressure and force enemies to respect her. So if you're a Kiriko that's providing enough pressure from an off angle, enemies have to come contest you, and you want them to contest you first, so then you can teleport to your team and heal them up and keep them alive. You don't want them to ignore you and go to your team and start killing them, because then if you want to go heal your team, you have to teleport to them, right? But they are being attacked currently right then and there, and you could get caught up in that, whether it's an ultimate, whether it's damage, whatever. So Kirikos want to play on that off angle and be the first to be flushed out, but before that happens, you create a ton of value and damage and opportunity for your team, and then you can go to your team and heal them up as well, and you're finding that happy balance. Now moving on to the next character that we got for you in this video, and it's Diva. And Diva's another character that I think some people think of as like someone that brawls on the front line, and other people think of Diva as someone that dives in like a Winston. And the reality of Diva is that she is very, very flexible in what she can do. She's kind of like a jack of all trades, where there are going to be some times when you're playing the high ground, protecting your team and peeling. There's going to be some times when you're diving a target on the high ground that's isolated. There are going to be some times when you are trying to burst down the tank because they are one of the last people alive and you're helping your team, and you're not going to be able to get killed out of nowhere like some of your teammates that are pushing the tank. So these are situations where Diva has to be truly flexible. I would say that Diva's an opportunist. Is there someone that's on the high ground that's alone? Diva might go full commit to them, dive them and kill them, punish them for existing there. Maybe they're being pocketed. Diva will harass them, prevent their value, but not full commit because it's harder for her to kill them. Maybe there is a diver going into her backline. Diva will come and peel using defense matrix to protect her team. Diva will often try to do a little bit of everything. Find the situation that will lead you to easy value, and look for these key moments where you can make an impact, whether it's protecting your teammates, whether it's contesting a certain DPS, or even killing someone outright. Diva has these little windows where, as long as you're occupying an area where it's hard for you to punish and making sure that you stay away from the threats that can really kill you, Diva can basically change her playstyle on a fly. And if you go into it like, I'm a dive Diva, or I'm a brawl Diva, or I'm only gonna do this, you're really leaving a ton of value and impact on the table. And that's why a lot of people don't really get the full value and impact out of Diva, because you need to truly be fluid how you're playing each game and how you play different moments inside of a game on this character. Now, the last character that we got to talk about in this video is none other than Ashe. Now, it's actually interesting because I just VOD reviewed an Ashe player. I've actually VOD reviewed several Ashe players, and the one thing that all Ashes get wrong, and this is even high rank Ashes, everyone gets freaking Bob wrong. They don't know how to use their ultimate. They throw their ultimate out and it does nothing 90% of the time. It's just terrible. Now, Bob, of course, can get slept and things like that, and it's a good idea to track abilities that could fully shut him down, mainly sleep. But of course, you can also set up like a Kiriko cleanse on the Bob if you're trying to do a coordinated play. But more importantly than that, the trick about a great Bob is two things: the space that it creates and the crossfire it creates. So as a good rule of thumb, instead of just trying to throw Bob right in front of you, or in the room in front of you, in the area in front of you, you want to throw it in the open space at the end between Ashe and whatever is the end of that open area. So the idea is, it's like a cone, right? Ashe and Bob control the entire space and have a crossfire with each other, and it leaves no room for the enemies to run away. Now, if you just throw Bob in a position where the enemies can just back off, and now they're facing both Ashe and the Bob, then it didn't really do that much, right? You want to put them between a rock and a hard place where they can't push back behind the Bob. They would have to push you as Ashe, hypothetically, but you're pretty far away from them, so it's hard for them to do so. I guess the best way to describe this is that the value from Bob comes from the pressure from multiple directions. Now, if we think of something that's different, like a Diva bomb, for instance, the value just comes from one direction. A Diva bomb explodes from one direction, so you can run away from it, you can hide from it, you can shield it off, and you will be okay up against a Diva bomb. But why is it that something that can apply pressure from two directions, both you and the Bob, is getting less value on average when it shouldn't be? It's because Bobs are being thrown out and used like just an ability, like a dynamite right in front of you, when you need to be thinking really critically about how much space Bob is controlling his line of sight and how that actually relates to your line of sight, and you're going to get more value and impact with Bob overall. Now, definitely let me know what heroes you see people play wrong the most in the comments down below. Definitely let me know and smash that subscribe button if you enjoy, and I'll see you next time.